On January 3, 2026, at exactly 2 a.m. in Caracas, the lights went out across Venezuela's capital. Radios fell completely silent. Dark clouds had taken over the capital. Even the light of the moon couldn't pass through them. But suddenly, a shining bright red light traveling at supersonic speed cuts through the clouds and strikes Caracas.
Venezuela. It's Venezuelan.
In Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Venezuela's.
And within the next 4 hours, the United States of America demonstrates its complete military strength that the world has not seen before. A sitting president was nabbed from his own country, from inside a heavily fortified military zone guarded by elite soldiers and protected by Russian S-300 air defense system, was flown out of Venezuela and sent to United States to face long pending criminal charges. The operation was called Absolute Resolution, and by sunrise, it was already over. The operation that ended with Nicolás Maduro in U.S. custody started years earlier. Quietly on paper, inside courtrooms and intelligence files, long before fighter jets bombed over Caracas. This is the story of how the world's most powerful military turned a president into a defendant, how an indictment became a roadmap, and how an operation known as Absolute Resolve reached its final hour. Let's rewind to 2020, where it all started from. The U.S. Department of Justice filed a federal indictment alleging Nicolás Maduro and 14 of his top officials conspired with guerrilla groups such as FARC, trafficking tons of cocaine into the United States via sea and air routes. U.S. authorities termed it as narco-terrorism conspiracy. The indictment changes Maduro's legal status. On paper, he is Venezuela head of state. But for the U.S., he's a wanted criminal. There's a clear list of charges, evidence, and a simple condition. If Nicolás Maduro ever ends up in U.S. custody, the legal system is ready to bury him under charges. The indictment provided a legal frame for groundwork to arrest Maduro. Fast forward to 2024 in July. Venezuela held its presidential elections, and to everyone's surprise, Nicolás Maduro won with 51% of the vote, while his opposition candidate Edmundo González got only 44% of the vote, despite giving a tough fight. Opposition party, US, and international observers rejected the election completely. They claimed González had won with 67% of the vote, calling the election as fraud. The disputed election gave Washington the framework it needed, not just to prosecute Maduro, but to remove him entirely. Behind closed doors, discussions changed in Washington. The question was no longer if, but how, but about when. And to make that when happen, you call the best. And only one agency in the whole world had that regime change experience: the CIA. CIA dispatched a clandestine team to Caracas to monitor Maduro's pattern of life, including his movement routes, residences, dietary habits, and security patterns. CIA then carefully placed a mole inside a circle of his close associates. The CIA mole did what it was exactly supposed to do. He provided pinpoint location of Maduro in real time. Precise tracking allowed the US to identify a vulnerability window when Maduro was stationary. Meanwhile, in Kentucky, USA, elite Delta Force operators constructed an exact replica of Maduro's fortified safe house to practice breach and entry techniques. Their training focused on getting through its heavy security, especially the multiple reinforced steel doors. While CIA maps Maduro from inside, the US military slowly closes the circle from outside. Pentagon announces an expanded anti-narcotics mission in the Caribbean Sea, calling it Operation Southern Spear. USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group arrives in the region by mid-November 2025. Then, the amphibious assault ship USS Iwo Jima joins, carrying Marines, helicopters, and the ability to put boots on the ground fast. Submarines encircle the Venezuelan coast. By the end of 2025, over 15,000 US troops are in the region, the largest US military presence in the hemisphere in decades. Bombers, drones, and fighter jets are pre-positioned at 20 bases and ships across the Western Hemisphere, ready for action. Venezuela was completely surrounded by the largest armada ever assembled in the history of South America. American intelligence watched every action of Maduro. On January 2nd, he meets China's envoy for 3 hours. The meeting ends at 11 p.m. By midnight, staff leaves. That's the window Americans had been waiting for. Trump gathers with top White House advisors to monitor the raid closely. On January 3rd at 2 a.m. Venezuela time, as the operation launches, U.S. Cyber Command and Space Command execute a coordinated cyber offense. They jam Venezuela's electrical grid and air defense radars, plunging Caracas into a sudden blackout. Power goes down and screens go dark across the city. Venezuelan S-300 air defense systems are blinded. This electronic warfare onslaught clears the way for incoming aircraft. Seconds later, the sky erupts with over 150 U.S. aircraft streaked toward Venezuela. In rapid succession, more than 150 fighters, bombers, and support aircraft, launched from sites all over the hemisphere, strikes key targets in and around Caracas. Venezuelan air defenses at La Carlota Air Base and the Fuerte Tiuna military complex are hit within minutes of the blackout. Multiple waves of precision airstrikes targets radar sites, military bases, ports, and airports, including La Carlota, El Volcan communications antenna, and La Guaira seaport. At the same time, under the cover of darkness, Army 160 SOAR helicopters carrying 40 Delta Force operators sweep in low from the north, flying just 100 feet above the Caribbean Sea to avoid possible detection. Delta Force operators fast rope onto the ground at the target compound in Fuerte Tiuna, encountering immediate resistance. Venezuelan troops open fire and even manage to hit one U.S. helicopter, which is damaged but stays airborne. Commandos return fire with overwhelming force, neutralizing the outer guards. After securing perimeter, Delta Force moves into the house with speed and precision. They employ breaching charges and blowtorches to cut through reinforced steel doors inside the residence. Amid flashes of gunfire and the hiss of a blowtorch cutting steel, Maduro attempts to flee into a hardened, safe room panic bunker built within the house. The last place where Maduro believed it was safe when everything went wrong. But before he reaches the safe room and shuts the steel door, he gets caught. According to President Trump,
he was trying to get into a safe place, and he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast.
Within minutes, Maduro and his wife Celia Flores were detained in their pajamas, zip-tied and blindfolded, extracted from their own country and brought to New York to face legal consequences. Not a single Delta operator was killed during the raid. And this incident probably shows the power of the American military, because extracting a president from his own country within 4 hours and putting him behind bars is not an easy task everyone could perform. If you want more unique and interesting stories like this, stay tuned and subscribe. We are upcoming with more such stories and events where the world was at stake.